Hello. Today I have with me Manfrotto's very own professional gimbal, the MVG 460. With a maximum payload of 4.6 kilograms, the MVG 460 is a great choice for any mirrorless or DSLR shooter. But also, with a lot more cinema cameras coming to the market that weigh considerably less than 4.6 kilograms, you can bet that the MVG 460 would also be a great choice for those cameras as well. This is a 3-axis gimbal stabilizer, and each of those axes have a lock on them. And what this is for is basically to make it easier for when you come to initially balance your gimbal when you first get a camera on there. And once you've kind of got your balance proper, your camera should be able to just stay wherever you position it in place. If it has a little bit of a jiggle, that's fine. Depending on how heavy the camera is, the gimbal might be able to compensate for lighter models. Now, the battery life in this thing, it comes with 4 batteries in the box. It comes with its own charger as well. These batteries last for 12 hours of working time, so you could have this gimbal running for you on a 12-hour shoot day if you needed it to. In terms of ergonomics, the MVG 460 is very easy to use. It has a touchscreen monitor on the smart handle grip here, which you can swipe through to see all your different menu settings. It has, if you swipe over to the left side of the screen, it takes you to the camera functions that you can operate through the gimbal if you connect those up nicely. But also, if you swipe over to the right, then you get all your options for basically customizing how quickly you want the gimbal to react, as well as some default presets in there if you don't want to have to dial it in yourself. You also have things like Inception mode, a very familiar effect to those Christopher Nolan fans out there. You also have selfie mode, which is very good for those high-end vloggers that like to use very high-grade cameras for all of their run-and-gun vlogging style videos. And in addition to that, for anyone who is shooting for, say, like TikTok, Instagram stories, Facebook stories, then you do have portrait mode as well, which basically just turns your camera on its side so you can get that vertical angle. All of this at your fingertips on that touchscreen. But on the home screen, when you power it up for the first time, what you are met with is just your basic modes, and there are 4 to choose from. We're going to start from the bottom right corner of that screen, which is the all follow mode. And what this is that basically it will follow whichever way you tilt the camera, whichever way you turn it, and even when you roll it on its side, it will follow all of your motions and just smooth out the edges along the way. And then on the bottom left corner, we have pan and tilt mode, which basically does what it says on the tin. It will pan with you and it will tilt with you, but when you roll it on its side, it will try to basically keep your shot level, so basically it just won't roll onto its side. Then in the top right corner, you have pan mode, where it will always try to basically keep everything facing straight on, but it will pan to wherever you direct it. And finally, in the top left corner is lock mode. Roll, tilt, and pan all work together to make sure that your camera is always facing in one direction at all times. Even if I was to like run around it in a big circle, that camera would always be facing where it's facing. So each of those modes do have their uses depending on what it is that you are trying to accomplish. However, you do still have some of that control thanks to the joystick just below that LCD monitor. Just like you can on a PlayStation controller, basically, you just direct it into whatever direction that you would like the camera to be facing. You know, if you have it in lock mode and you want it to face a different way, then you can direct it manually through that joystick to position to wherever it is that you would like it to lock onto. But another handy feature of this gimbal is the dial that is fitted to the side of the LCD monitor. And what this dial is useful for is for controlling each of those 3 axes independently of each other. So first of all, when you first switch on the MVG 460, you want to press that dial inward to the body. And once you've done that, it initiates it into pan mode. And then just by using that dial, you can pan up and down. And it's a very good dial. The dial's got a very smooth touch to it. So you've got a lot of control, a little bit of resistance, which is actually quite useful to have. And the gimbal itself is super responsive to this. To switch between them, because you can't control them all at the same time. I mean, that would just be crazy. You'd have like some kind of gyro effect going on, and I just don't know how that would be useful for anybody really. But to switch between those different axes, you just have to press that dial in once and then that will switch you over to tilt if you're on pan. Then you press it in again, and then that will take you to roll. And then when you press it again after that, it just goes full circle and comes back around to pan. And now say you've used the dial quite a lot throughout the day, and now your camera is a little bit kilted off to one side or just staring up in a random direction, and you want to just quickly straighten it up. There is a trigger on the back of the controller, which when you just double tap it with your finger or your thumb, whatever finger you've got ready for you, that will automatically straighten it up for you. This also works well for if you have it in selfie mode and you want to switch it back to just facing forwards. You just double tap that trigger button on the back of here and it will correct it for you. Now that you know how to use the Manfrotto MVG 460, now we should get into a little bit more of how to accessorize our gimbal. And the first one that I'd like to talk about is one that comes in the box with it, and that is the secondary optional handle. Slots straight onto the body here, and you've got a couple of screws that you just like screw it on so it's nice and fastened in there. And as an option for what type of handle you can get for that secondary handle is you can get an additional wireless remote. And this all operates the same as the joystick and the dial that's on the actual gimbal body. It's the exact same principle. So you've got pan, tilt and roll from the dial. You just have to push it in every time you want to switch to a different axis basically. And then you've got the joystick, which is basically a free-for-all of just looking all over the place and just trying to line up the shot to what best suits you. What I did is that I attached my smartphone, and then I turned on my field monitor app and connected it to my GH5. And then basically I handed it over to George, and George was able to, while I was just like running around and trying to get some nice angles, George could finesse my shots by just adding some pans and some tilts, or even if my camera is just not facing in the right direction, he has a field of view that he can easily look at and just use like either the joystick or using the dial. And for the price point, I think you're getting a lot of bang for buck out of having that kind of flexibility. Something else that comes in the box with this gimbal is an extension to our handle grip on the main part of the gimbal body. But say that this doesn't extend it high enough for you, well then, there's another accessory that you can buy separately. It's called the Gimboom. The Gimboom is another product made by Manfrotto, and basically it's, well, the clue is in the name. It's a boom pole, but it is a boom pole for gimbals. And that's really cool because I've got one right here. This is the Gimboom with me right now. And basically it has a screw fitting on the top, so it attaches to the bottom of the handle of your gimbal, the same way that these extension pieces and the same way that the tripod legs attach onto the bottom. And what this basically allows you to do is that if you say want to get a jib shot, or you want to simulate a drone shot, but you don't have time to set up a jib and you don't have a permit or whatever to fly a drone in whatever particular area, then you could attach your gimbal onto the end of this, and then you extend it outwards. It gets really tall as well. It comes out the bottom as well, so you know, it gets pretty long. You can really simulate those jib shots that you want to do, and because gimbals obviously have so many settings, and you have this remote control for the extra kind of like, well, control, you've got so many options for how to accomplish certain shots that would require a lot of work before. And also just like if you're getting like even just low angle shots as well, you can really easily, because you've got a lot of leverage now, you can do a really long sweeping shots with your camera really low across the floor if you want to get some really cinematic shots. Even just by having this extension here, it's brilliant. But if you like put this extension on the Gimboom, you've got like, wow, that's extended. And also when you de-rig the gimbal and everything, you pack it down, I could actually fit this in my camera bag quite snugly along with 2 GH5s, my lenses, and my batteries and my cards and various other things. I took a hard drive with me too. I took a NAND light with me, wherever those are. So I think this would be great for a one-person shooter who's going to do like, I don't know, conference gigs or shooting for events or shooting music videos or shooting at skate parks. And yeah, I think this is very workable for a lot of people. I just want to add that I'm not really a gimbal user. I like being handheld mostly, which is why I love, you know, the GH5 and the IBIS that's built into it and everything. But this gimbal, because it was so easy to use, so easy to work with, so easy to get to grips with quite quickly, I think it might have actually converted me. If you would like to know more about Manfrotto's MVG 460 gimbal, or even the 220 gimbal, which is the more slimmed down, smaller, lower cost model, then you can find links in the description to our store page. We have loads of information on there for you. But also feel free to send us an email or give us a call. Or alternatively, you can leave a comment down below and I will personally get back to you as soon as I can with all the information that you could need. Don't forget to leave us a like, and if you haven't done so already, then subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the content that we have coming up. And as always, thank you very much for watching.